Now it's time to do the male, and it's a lot easier because the fan is free, and it's going to repeat the process. I'm going to do so off camera. Alright, I got the two female pins crimped on, and I'm going to put them in the male plug. Again, I can look at the square holes with the little notches on one side where it says JST 1 and 2. The red goes in the 1. You have that little piece of metal sticking out, kind of like a hook. So the red's going to go in 1. You click it all the way. It shouldn't come out. You can actually see on the exterior of the plug itself where it hooks. Do the same thing with the black and number 2. And once it clicks in, you're golden. So plug, male and female. And we should be able to turn this on and test it. We're going to wait though. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the putting on the fan. So the way this works is actually really quite simple. You have the main base, the main body that's printed, and then you have these two little clips that go on these little hex pieces on the ends. So you got two little hexes. So now you could assemble it ahead of time and snap it on. I have to admit I'm not too terribly big fan of that because ABS is somewhat brittle and does snap off. So what I'll do is get ready to put it in. So you get 4 screws that you need for this, 2 for the clips, and then 2 for the fans, and of course 4 nuts to go with it. Now there's 2 lengths. There's a 12 millimeter length, and then there's a 16 millimeter length. The 16 millimeter length is for the fan. The 12 millimeter you want to use for the little clips. So you'll take your nuts, and there's a little slot in the side. Put it up close so you can see. Get the thing out of focus. So you see that little slot in the side. You put your nut in there, then you got that hex on top that it mates up with. So I'll slide it in. Obviously you want it to have the center of the nut line up with the hole. Just might take a little bit of manipulation with the pliers to get it there. So it should look something like that once it's in. Do that to both sides. Alright, so after we have those nuts in either side of the where the clips attach, we're also going to want to put the fan in right away because it's not easy to get access to with the other fans being so close. And even before I do that, there is some not exactly pretty material up top. Is where the bridging kind of failed. You can see it. So it's just clumps of plastic. And it's pretty good bridging considering it had to go 40 millimeters. That's quite extreme for these printers, but unfortunately it messes with our with the fit of our fan. It'll still fit, mind you, which is rather nice, but we want to make sure we aren't stressing the plastic too much. It doesn't need to be perfectly flat, just get most of the large chunks off. Should be able to run a razor blade out over the surface without it stopping too much. And make sure you clean it out real good. You don't have any particles that are going down the vents because you'll blow those right on the nozzles. So once I have it cleaned out, I'll put the fan in. Now the fan shroud has these little tabs right on the top surface of where the air comes out of. So there's little clips there that hook underneath, and then these hexes on top attached to clips that when screwed down hold it to the whole thing. Like I said, before we do that we can't really get to the screws behind the nuts behind it, so we want to put the fan in first. And while it's in this orientation, we want to make sure that the fan wire is coming out of the top left, okay, the top left side. If you put it in another orientation, it's going to possibly suck the air out versus blow the air on the nozzles, and we want to make sure that we're blowing air, well, not on the nozzles but on the part itself. So once I get that in position, you can pull it away from the bed, press your nuts into the spots allowed for them, and you just screw it in by using the screwdriver. I recommend doing this before you put all the doors and closures on. The top just pops off, but the door does make this a little bit more of a challenge to work with. Even if you can't get it in all the way, as long as you get it far enough to where it catches, it'll pull itself the rest of the way. And you just want those snug, you don't want to be too tight. This is where we'll hook it right underneath. We'll pop those clips on. The hexes will match, and it'll actually just kind of snap in place and hold itself there, so you don't have to do too much work while you get these screws. Remember, we put those nuts in the side holes earlier, so this should just hit that nut and start going. If the nuts are shifted a little bit, sometimes you have to push them over, but it seems like it found it okay. You don't want to crank her down. In fact, you want to leave it a little loose so you can go underneath and make sure that it is centered between the nozzles. You might need to get a little extra light underneath there. So just make sure it's centered. Once you have it where you want it, simply crank it down the rest of the way. Alright, and that is it for now.